Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful morning, or at the very least, I know in the States on Eastern time zone, it is in the evening. What time is it? At night, even? Yes, it's in the evening. I wanted to give an update. So hopefully this video doesn't get demonetized. The video I did this morning got nearly 30,000 views. Just fantastic. Demonetized bastards. That's okay though, because everything that was said in the video, A, was accurate, and B, felt good to say. So fair enough. I wanted to give an update on what has been taking place because there have been some pretty significant developments that have been going on that needs to be stated and outed. Now, if you are somebody who watches this channel, you're not necessarily going to be shocked by these developments, or at the very least, I don't think you are, because this channel has kind of taken the position that this is Trump's war in the first place in regards to Israel and Iran. The unprovoked attack was well known, backed by the US government to the hilt. Donald Trump initially came out crowing when he thought it was going well. And then within the course of a day or so, that crowing turned into complaining. And oh my God, America had nothing to do with this after him crowing that America was directly involved. People who even voted for Trump thought he was losing his mind and having a bit of dementia, as if the previous tweets, reports, indications by Israel, indications by our own press, that was very clear that Donald Trump was completely instrumental involved. You didn't even need the press to tell you, considering the notion that Israel would do something like this without the United States backing is nonsense. So this channel has been very clear that this wolf was at the door, the monsters was at the gates. This was coming to fruition at some point. And so even though you couldn't necessarily predict the exact day, you could tell that there were pieces that were being moved in the direction of going after Iran. And Israel has done so. And as I predicted, they've run into a buzzsaw. And because they've run into a buzzsaw, what you're getting out of the White House is panic and desperation. A full-well betrayal of MAGA, where he is effectively breaking it into cultists and actual people that give a shit about America. That is what is effectively taking place right now. Donald Trump realizing that Israel is getting taken apart, and the strategy that Iran is using is effectively, we will slow walk this. We will do this every night, and we will just keep it going in perpetuity. How will your economy last with your people living in bunkers? How will you continue to function as a state as we take apart piece by piece by piece, night after night after night? That is what we would do. And we would do it for the foreseeable future. We believe that you will collapse as a state before we've run out of missiles. And that seems to be the plan that Iran is doing. Trump, who seems to be aware on some level that this is not going well anymore, has gotten desperate. Mossad and the elements of Mossad have been getting captured and killed in Tehran. And many of the attacks that have been taking place haven't necessarily been by the Israeli Air Force. Much of those attacks have been taking place internally in Iran itself, meaning, let's say, Mossad agents or whatnot in Iran launching either drones or attacks in Iran. Well, those networks are being dismantled. Those people are being killed and executed. And as those people get executed, and as those, let's say, divisions that were smuggled into Iran has been activated in Iran and it gets decimated, the ability of attacks will lessen. Meaning, from Iran's point of view, you were able to get a lot of bang for your buck out of internal chaos and divisions. But now that we've found many of them, we may not know all of them, but Lord knows we've been getting many of them. We've been taking the drone trucks. We've been going after and getting some of the apartments. Don't take my word for it. This is one of, don't take me, I got rid of it. Right here. This is one of the locations that Iran got, an entire building. In other cases, there were trucks full of drones and so forth. But they've been dismantling these labs, bomb-making facilities, drone-making facilities in Tehran. meaning as they get control of these, the ability for Israel, the US, to wage attacks in Iran weakens. F-35 has been knocked out the sky, apparently, by air defense. So the ability for Israeli planes to get overtly close to Iran, again, has been lessened. But that hasn't stopped Tehran from bombing the stuffing out of Israel. As I said, beautiful morning. This is Tel Aviv tonight. What, third night, fourth night?
Why? Die. Wow.
We can get a different angle for this. Let's see. Here's another video of this taking place. I'll share this tab instead. Yep. So you could imagine that if you're the US, you initiated an unprovoked sneak attack, war of aggression on Iran, that you believe that in 12 hours that this attack was going to win, apparently because Donald Trump is a child with a gun, an evil child with a gun, that this was going to be over with in 12 hours. It was not. Your sneak attack, you got your hit in. You killed a lot of people. Congratulations, I suppose. But that's not a war. That's not the end of the war. And Tehran is a proper military. And so whereas Israel and the U.S., with the U.S. support, believe that burning kids alive is a proper war, no, it is not. It is not. So Donald Trump, recognizing that his plan has fallen apart, and have no doubt it is his plan, U.S. helped lull Iran into false belief that no attack was imminent. I've shown this in the other videos, so I'm not going to nail this down, even though I was right. This is true. Trump puts out this tweet. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. Waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran could not have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. So at 2, 3 in the morning, he expected a country of 10 to 15 million people to get up and evacuate. Also, he seems to be stupid enough to believe that Tehran didn't know that the U.S. was involved, and more to the point, didn't know. Oh, you didn't see it. I'm sorry. Here it is, right here. Try this again. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran could not have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everybody should immediately evacuate Tehran. So Donald Trump, president of peace, who acted like he had nothing to do with this, is now directly coming out, ripping off the mask. Again, shallow mask at that. Dumb as a rock, Donald Trump is now threatening a country of 10 to 15 million people at 2 in the morning, give or take, in Iran. Donald Trump, president of peace. President of peace. Again, the nuke thing is dishonest. As I kept pointing out to you, it was dishonest. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of somebody who works in his administration when asked about it.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Okay, so let's go back to basics. Habitual liars lie. Habitual liars lie. He's lying. His plan has gone up in smoke. He's getting desperate. And so now he is threatening Tehran directly. He's not just threatening Tehran. Here is another tweet that he puts out, again, completely deranged, where he is now claiming that America first means whatever he wants it to mean. America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran can have a nuke. Make America great again. Again, this is not making America great again. This is purely you functioning at the behest of a foreign power, something that I've said was anti-American, and it's at its very basics anti-American. There are cultists who will back Trump on this, but there are some people who have taken issue with this. Hence, Trump attacking those people also. Somebody please explain to Kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran can have a nuclear weapon. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Do you really want to attack Tucker Carlson like this? If you're looking at somebody who's America First, Tucker Carlson often gets that mantle, and you are now going after him, again, at the behest of a foreign power. Now, the reason he's going after Tucker Carlson is because Tucker Carlson did a video with Steve Bannon. Oh, by the way, this is Haifa on fire. Haifa on fire. Energy production up in smoke. Yep. Energy production up in smoke. Still burning. Still burning. Still burning. All right. Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon was on the show together. Tucker Carlson said this. This is what Donald Trump is referencing. Effectively, Tucker Carlson, correct, by the way, saying the American empire is going up in smoke. And it is a direct result of what Donald Trump is doing right now in basically backing and having an Israel first policy masquerading as an American first policy. Many people want to see that happen, and Trump is effectively bringing it into existence. And he's right. He's right. Your queen, sir, has too many responsibilities. If you're playing chess and the queen has to cover 3 spots, well, the queen can only move once, as powerful as she is. You have a war right now in Ukraine that you are still going after. You have a war right now in Iran, and then you are threatening to go to war with China. This is after murdering women and children in Yemen. And again, all of these wars that Israel has fought are American wars. So let's be very clear that the murdering of people in Gaza that is happening right now outside of Ashdod, meaning Israel is taking out their vengeance that they could not take out on Iran, on innocent women and children in Gaza, blowing up tents, etc., killing nearly 100 people over the course of 24 hours. This is what Tucker Carlson had to say. Effectively, dude, this is not America first. This is something else. He's having a conversation with Steve Bannon. Let it play out.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's...
By the way, the notion that Donald Trump is a deeply humane, kind person is nonsense. It's nonsense. Reality disagrees with you, sir. If you want to code it this way, because, you know, your buddies with Trump, you want to get interviews and everything else, okay, fair enough. But let's be honest. He's an evil, disgusting, hateful human being that has murdered civilians and has chest thumped the murdering of civilians and has just co-signed a war with Iran right now where they are going directly after civilian targets. Don't give it a shit about humane human being. You're out of your fucking mind. That aside, let's let this play out.
Going to be... I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on.
His point is, your presidency will go up in smoke. On that point, he is right. He is perfectly right. Your presidency will go up in smoke. Few points before I end this video because I want to play some chess. One, this is desperation masquerading as strength, and not desperation of an individual country. It's desperation of an empire that feels its power receding. And every move that the empire makes as its power recedes only brings about that outcome faster. That is what we're seeing. The war against Russia in Ukraine, that should have been a canary in a coal mine moment, but it was not, because again, the American point of view, the American framing of events, in reality, that is often just wrong, incompetent. And now you have somebody, a man-child, with a weapon, an evil man-child at that with a weapon, that doesn't know what to do because all of his plans have effectively fallen apart. So he gets into a conflict with Yemen, gets militarily defeated by men in sandals in the way that they describe the Houthis. Obviously, Ansar Allah is more sophisticated than that, but whatever. He couldn't effectuate his will on that population, $1 trillion military budget, planes tossed off the side of a boat, nearly get knocked out of the sky, in which case he calls it off. Okay, there's that. You're in a war right now with Russia. You were too stupid to walk away when you first got involved, and instead you wanted to make a deal, and you wanted to make a deal in a way that would con your MAGA supporters into believing that something has fundamentally changed between you and Joe Biden in the way that you were funding the war. Okay, well, maybe it has changed. Maybe you're going to pull funding away, but the Lend-Lease agreement, quote unquote, that you've effectively made allows you to continue to give them weapons under this notion of, well, we're not giving it to them. They're paying us for it. Okay, either way, you are putting forward a plan that the Russians are not going to take because losers don't get to dictate terms. As an American president, you don't want to accept those terms because you don't like the optics of it. But again, losers don't get to dictate terms. While you are now gallivanting around in Iran, Ukraine is being taken apart piece by piece outside of the eyeshot of pretty much everybody else because the sun is so bright in what is happening in Iran and Israel that Russia has a clear and free hand to do whatever the hell they want, with Zelensky screaming in the background for some level of attention. I'm trying to point out that you had the opportunity to walk away. You didn't want to walk away. You instead wanted to freeze the conflict in the way that you froze the conflict in Syria so you could come back to it later. Well, we saw what happened in Syria, right? Donald Trump was the one that protected Idlib. Idlib, where Jelani had his fiefdom, if you notice, sprung to life at an inopportune moment, and they were able to take down Assad. He wants to do the exact same thing in Russia, and Russia told him to F off. We've played this game before with immense agreements. We're not playing this game again. That is done. We will get unconditional surrender. That is what we want. That is what we get. You either accept it over the bargaining table or we take it at the barrel of a gun. You can't do anything about it. So in his escapades with Ukraine, Trump has failed utterly, completely, and was too stupid to walk away from it and just say, Biden's war, I'm out. On the other front, the economic trade war with China, he decides that he wants to have a trade war against the entirety of the world all at once. Once again, sir, it seems like your queen has too many responsibilities. And what happens? China refuses to back down and asserts that you are not the boss of us. And not just not the boss of us, we will also escalate and we will also go after your industries. Hey, don't look like your factories are able to produce cars anymore. Hey, looks like U.S. military needs something that we have at our disposal that you don't have. Hey, looks like your farmers are going to go broke. Meaning, once again, as a stupid tactic, was not able to affect America's will in an economic sense. So not only did you fail in a military sense with all of the powers of NATO working to try to take down the Russian government and the Russian economy, and for that matter, the Russian military, you do the stupid trade war and it's not able to affect your will on that either. In which case you have to back down because the bond market was freaking out. The value of the dollar was effectively plummeting, and the faith and the credit of the U.S. government was collapsing, in which case you had to back away. What do they call him? Taco Trump? Trump always surrenders or Trump always backs out, whatever the hell they use. I'm saying both of those things should have been canaries in a coal mine, but apparently they weren't. And so now, while you are still involved in the war in Ukraine, you decide to give the green light to attack Israel, to attack Iran. Obviously, this is something that Israel wanted to do anyway. You were backing them to the hilt. You gave them all of the weapons, the money, everything else that they needed for that attack. And you ended up refueling those airplanes and tried to lull and succeeded in lulling Iran into a sense of security as you sucker punch and snuck them. Okay. Then you started crowing like a peacock, not realizing that wars are not one. Did America resign after Pearl Harbor? No, they did not. We did not. And so this comically stupid idea that this sucker punch was going to somehow end Iran or make them more amenable to your plan was absurd on its face. And Trump was too stupid to even know that. And so now he's involved in a war in Iran that he's stuck with. And putting out these tweets. Iran's not going to evacuate. 10 million, 15 million people are not going to leave and to fly. Another point I need to nail down. Iran understood that you were already a part of this conflict. Iran understood that most likely you were going to intervene on the side of Israel as Israel got taken apart. Your tweet is not revealing anything new. Your tweet is not giving any new information to the process. You are already doing what they've already assumed you will do. There's that. Now, let's be very clear. For Iran, this is existential, meaning they need to regard it as such. On the other front, I still remain where I was, that the U.S. is going to run into a buzzsaw. I strongly believe it, just like I believe Israel was going to run into a buzzsaw. I do believe that Iran is probably saving some of its powder for what they expect to be the main conflict, which will be between the U.S. and Iran, a war that they've been preparing for ever since the Iraq War, where the U.S. had an unprovoked attack on Iraq. There's that. Now, wars are unpredictable by definition. We have no idea who else is going to get dragged into this war. We have no idea what's going to happen if Iran knocks down a missile carrier because the U.S. is attacking. We have no idea what's going to happen if they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Meaning, all of these things are unpredictabilities. And not just unpredictabilities, part of the reason that that the U.S. is going after Iran in the first place is to strike a blow to this multipolarity. This is not, in the same way that Ukraine was not just about Ukraine, it was about the context of the world. Iran is also standing at the fulcrum of the world. And you have all of these countries for the West, the white Western world, effectively backing their colony, Israel. And you have Iran standing for the civilized world by themselves with the help of Russia, China, Pakistan, North Korea, that is apparently giving them weapons, ammunition, intelligence, etc., even if they don't necessarily get militarily involved. The question becomes, if the Iranian government starts to look wobbly, what happens? I don't know. If Israel decides to fire a nuke, what happens? I don't know. Does Pakistan nuke Israel? I don't know. Does North Korea nuke Israel? I don't know. Meaning, wars, by definition, are unpredictable. And Donald Trump has effectively entered the United States into something that is inherently unpredictable and can easily pull in other powers. Russia and Iran's parliament just ratified the strategic partnership between Russia and Iran. No, that doesn't necessarily mean the Russian troops are coming in. Most likely, it does mean that Russia is going to be giving them intelligence, weapons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in order for them to continue their pursuits. And as Mark pointed out, the fact that the U.S. is now involved in Israel and Iran means less is going to Ukraine, which will hasten the failure of the Ukrainian front in the global war that they are being waging against the Russian government. For the last 3 years, Russia's taken the brunt of it. It is now moving to Tehran. So instead of them finishing one failure, they've now moved to what potentially will be another failure. The empire feels its power draining and slipping away. All of these moves have been about that. How does the US preserve its hegemony? They were not able to do it militarily from the standpoint of Russia. They're not able to do it, or maybe if they can't do it militarily in the sense of Iran and Israel, the context of the world changes. Meaning if the United States fails militarily against Iran, and I kept saying Iran is going to have to take its respect at the barrel of a gun. It's not what I wanted. It's just I saw the wolf and the monster was at the door. You have sociopaths who effectively acted with impunity in one country after the next, finally getting to the point where they took down Syria and they looked at Iran and said, they're open for business. We can go after them. And they're weak. They didn't go after us with True Promise 2. We believe they're weak. Not so much. They just didn't want a war. The question becomes, what does Donald Trump do? Does he bring us closer to the brink of oblivion, to a potential third world war? Because again, wars are unpredictable. First World War wasn't planned to end up the way it ended up. You had all of these relationships that effectively spiraled and pulled countries into the maelstrom of the whirlwinds. I'm saying the same thing is true for this. The US is susceptible. We think that we can't be touched. Those missile carriers can be taken out by hypersonic missiles. Those planes can be knocked out of the sky if indeed they're doing bombing campaigns. I am pointing out that we are not as powerful as we think we are. And I really believe we will be militarily defeated. I could be wrong. I have not been wrong up to this point. I've been more right than people like Deason, Ritter, etc. Ritter thought there was going to be an unprovoked nuclear missile strike on Tehran. Okay, well, that didn't happen. Even when they were planning what they were going to do, they didn't count using an unprovoked nuclear missile strike. Will they get to that point? Maybe. But once again, that is consequences. That is severe political consequences that are somewhat unpredictable. All of this stuff that Trump has effectively, and US presidents in general, has dragged us into. This was always coming. It's just at this point, this is where it's being fought. I'm not going to keep this. We'll see. I don't look forward to this because, like I said, wars are unpredictable. Iran is in an existential place, meaning there is no way for them to go back. They can only go forward. Trump's threats don't matter because you are at their gates and you are effectively trying to remove sovereignty from them. When Scott Ritter came out with this ridiculous notion that Iran is Iran, the US is the US, and so if the US tells Iran what to do, Iran should just do it. Okay, well, that's insane. And you're effectively telling them to give up sovereignty. And if they were willing to give up sovereignty on one thing, then they're willing to give up sovereignty across the board. It is an impossible request that they were never going to accept, which is why I went after him for saying it. He may have changed his tune now, but I'm pointing out the fact that Iran is in an existential struggle. The US always wanted this war. Israel always wanted this war. Taking down Syria, Lebanon, Hezbollah, etc. All of these things have been a means to an end to get to Iran. Iran, unfortunately, on some level, allowed it to take place. But this is where we are. We'll see what happens. That's unfortunate. Even if Iran is able to push the US back, the US still has the potential to cause a lot of deaths. And as you know, we don't care about killing civilians. Israel doesn't care about killing civilians. We have watched what we've considered to be disposable people get killed, murdered, burned alive, slaughtered, babies being eaten by wolves or coyotes or whatever the hell is there, hospitals being bombed, people being raped with the public saying it is okay for this to take place and that, Israelis should be able to rape Palestinians. This is the government, the Nazis, to which we are currently dealing with, that Iran has to face in the same way that the Soviet had to face their Nazis. And they're every bit as bloodthirsty, every bit as hateful, every bit as fascist. But on the positive, hateful, racist people don't seem to view reality clearly, which on some level is a benefit to the opposition that is fighting those Nazis. Blessings are with Iran. I don't believe there's anything above us that's protecting us. But if there is, my fervent wish is for Iran to destroy their enemies. That's the only way we get a different world. And for those people who are like, oh my God, American empire is collapsing, you should want that empire to collapse. You are $36 trillion in debt. You don't have high-speed rail. You don't have universal health care. Your roads are crumbling. Your bridges are collapsing. Your subways are trash. California is homeless communities to the tunes of hundreds of thousands. What are they spending your money on? Have you thought about that? How on earth has empire been to your benefit as opposed to functioning on the best interests of your civilian populations? It is a patriotic thing to want that empire to collapse with the notion that they start functioning and focusing on items that pertain to us as Americans. If America first doesn't mean that, then that's just propaganda. I would wager it is just propaganda, considering Donald Trump is going with the Israeli first policy and trying to pretend as if it means America first. I'm going to end this. I'm going to say like, I'm going to say share, I'm going to say subscribe. This video went way too long. Yeah, I think that's everything. You guys have a fantastic day or fantastic night. I'll see you bright and early. Late. It's so weird. For me, it's later tonight. For you guys, it's in the morning. Fair enough. I will turn up late. Good night. Yep. Maybe it's what it means with America first. Well, I mean, look, there is reality and there's dishonest framing. It's just dishonest framing. Habitual liars lie, as I pointed out before. Are we now, Jamal said it the exact way you need it to hear it? Well, I tried to just say it. Are we now aware of Jamal Thomas? I don't know what that means. Good stream, Jamal. Stay safe. Braided ass hair. That's funny. Thank you. Thanks, Jamal. Bless you. Your chat. And Iran. Yeah, it's existential. It just is. It's unfortunate they have to do it on their own, but this is where they are. Breaking Erdogan would unleash holy hell if red lines across. No, they won't. No, they won't. Erdogan's a snake in the grass and a member of NATO. Always remember that. Listen to what Jamal's saying right now. Listen very closely. Well, I'm trying to just relay what is taking place in the context of the world. I think the world is falling off its axis. And I think you have very desperate people in Europe and the US, a small fraction of the globe that wants to maintain hegemony. And all of these wars, all of this chaos is started by them all around the world. Any war you can find, for the most part, is started by Europe and the US. And this is another one. And so if the US fails on this, context of the world has changed. Context of the world has changed. All right, I'm going to end this. I'm going to say like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one all. Be safe. Good night.